My name is Alex Mackay. I'm a cook, a teacher, a writer and a food lover. I've been demonstrating at Divertimenti for 15 years and today I'm going to make my New Zealand Pavlova. I'm going to prepare the Pavlova in 3 parts. The first part is the meringue. For that I have egg whites, caster sugar and icing sugar. The second part is an orange and mascarpone cream, rich and luscious. I have mascarpone, double cream and more sugar. Then the fruits, you can kind of do what you want, whatever's ripest and best, but here I'm going tropical, very exciting, very colourful and very tasty. I've got some pineapple, I've got some kiwi fruit, of course. I've got an orange which actually goes in there. I've got a mango, nice and ripe, try and get them with the air shipped. Over here I've got some passion fruit, a pomegranate, some limes and a bit of mint at the end. To make my kiwi tropical fruit pavlova, I need to start by making the meringue. Here I have 4 egg whites. Now, if you want to, and you're ever using yolks for something else, you can freeze your egg whites. Each egg white weighs roughly 35 grams. What I need to do first of all is to whisk them up until you get firm peaks. And then you start adding the sugar. The sugar, you want to use caster sugar. It needs to be casted rather than granulated, because what needs to happen here is that the sugar dissolves and coats the particles of egg white. That's what gives you the strength. So 1 tablespoon at a time. Let it whisk, let the sugar incorporate between each spoonful. Now, in days gone by, what I used to do when I add the icing sugar is I would take this to one side and I would fold it in. And that is the traditional way to do this sort of meringue. But I think this time I'm just going to try popping it all in one go as it whisks. Let the machine do the work for me. Okay, now I'm going to let it whisk for about a minute, and to this I'm going to add some lime juice, okay, about 2 teaspoonfuls. Okay, this gives you a lovely bit of acidity inside the meringue. And of course the lime goes very nicely with pineapple, with mango, with pomegranate. It all works together. It gives you that lovely sort of piquant taste. Okay, so here I've got these lovely firm peaks on top, and you see how wonderfully creamy that's become. Now, get every last bit off the whisk. Then here I have an adjustable ring. So here I'm doing this at about 26 centimeters, okay? You use the ring just as a guideline, really. Put in most of, but not all of the meringue. And remember, that's going to grow in the oven. You see how lovely and firm and creamy this is. Then you spread it around to the outside, or the edge of the ring. A palette knife that's bent is very handy to do this with. Then grab a spoon, and what I want to do, I mean this is a very, very generous 8 portions, okay, is to put some blobs around the outside. Now the easiest way to do this is to match up on each side. So I've got one there, one there, one there, one there, remembering that these grow as they go. Now if you want smaller portions, you could of course just do 10. It makes it very easy to portion afterwards. And there you've got the base for your pavlova. This now goes in the oven at 120 degrees for just under 2 hours. Or in the simmering oven of your aga. Next I'm going to make the orange cream to go in the center of the pavlova. You could do orange, you could do passion fruit, you could do lime, you could do perhaps not raspberry at this time of year, but anything that's got a bit of acidity is really nice. To keep the cream holding up, I don't just do cream, and this is a fantastic tip for this, but also for cakes and things like that that you want to hold for a while. I use roughly half cream and half mascarpone. Okay, so what you need to do, grab the mascarpone and the cream together. You can do this with an electric whisk if you want. I quite like doing it by hand. I go a bit crazy with the noise of those electric mixers after a while. So pop these two together, and then just first of all, don't go too fast because you end up with more cream on the floor than you do in the bowl. You just need to break up the mascarpone through the cream. Okay, when you've beaten the lumps out of the mascarpone and it's combined with the cream and they're all smooth, it's time to add the icing sugar and the orange zest. The zest you can do with a grater, or you can do with a little zester like this. I prefer a zester because I just love them, but whichever one you use, just zest it once or grate it once, because what we want is this, the zest itself, and of course the lovely little spray that comes out. What you don't want is the bitter pith underneath. Now zest is a perfect word for this stuff because it gives a zesty taste. It gives a taste of freshness. It gives a taste of very delicate bitterness. It's delightful. And then you just whisk it all through. Now you want this relatively firm so that it holds up in the center, but of course don't take it too far because then you'll end up with orange flavored butter. Ah, there you go. Lovely for firm peaks like that. Now I'm going to put this in the fridge, and the next thing we're going to do is all of the fruit. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to prepare is the pineapple. So the pineapple, very simply, warp off the top and the bottom. Lay it up right like that. Always when you've got something that's round, try and give yourself a flat surface so you can slice it more easily. Then you cut off the first bit. And see these parts here. Now these are slightly sort of, I don't know, bitter, sort of slightly acidic. So if you use this as a guide, you want to not cut off too much, but cut off enough so you get rid of those little black dots. This bit in the middle, the core, this round bit here, you want to get rid of that really. It's quite good to suck on, and if they're incredibly ripe, it's nice to eat, but in general, it's just hard and flavorless. Whoopsie. So it all fell apart like that. Then you whip out the center here. And next, we're going to slice it into wedges. Righty-ho. Next, I'm going to do the pomegranate. Now, this is quite apt, really, because I learned how to do this the way that I'm going to show you here at Divertimenti. And I was taught by an Australian. So in the midst of a demonstration about Pavlova, it could not be better. First of all, you grab a knife and you cut it in half. Next, once you've got the halves there, nice juicy one here, you put it into your hand with your fingers splayed. Then you grab a rolling pin and you tap the back so that the seeds go through your fingers. If you've got something, a nice white frock on like I've got today, what you need to do is do it away from yourself, okay, because it does make a bit of a mess. And then you're left with almost the empty shell and your seeds in the bowl. And that's it. So the mango, when you're preparing a mango, you have the shape of it here. You have the flat sides, if you like this, and then the more tapered sides on this side. This is important because that's the shape of the stone in the middle. So I'm going to show you how to do this. This is very ripe, this mango. If you can, it costs a bit more, but it's well worth it. Buy mangoes that have been air shipped, because if they've been shipped by air, they're generally shipped when they're ripe. If they're shipped by boat, they're shipped when they're not ripe, and they never ripen quite the same. So it's worth paying a little bit extra for them. So now that I've peeled this, now this is very, very soft. So you need a nice sharp peeler like this one. And see, this way, instead of doing it with a knife, obviously you waste as little as possible. Okay, then I'll just whip off the bottom. Another flat surface, and you can see this very clearly now. You've got these two wonderfully shaped sides here, and you kind of find where the stone is, and you cut down the side of the stone. Then you go around the edge of the stone like that to get off as much as possible. I will slice the mango like this. Now, passion fruit, mango, and now the kiwi fruit. So the kiwi fruit, whip off the ends. For what we're doing now, again, I'm going with the peeler. Give yourself a flat surface again. So cut them in half. Next, the passion fruit. Slice them in half. And then scoop them out into a little bowl, making sure that you get all the pulp. So here you have it, the fruit from my Pavlova. I've got the pineapple, pomegranate, passion fruit, the 3 Ps. Then I've got kiwi fruit, mango, and I've got some lime. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that yet, but I'm pretty sure that I'll be able to think of something. All of this fruit, you can very happily prepare it quite a long time in advance. A good couple of hours is no problem at all. You don't need to do anything like this last minute. The cream can be done on the morning for the evening, absolutely no problem at all. So everything can be done in advance. Okay, now I'm going to put it all together. Here we go. So now this has had a couple of hours. When you take it out of the oven, what you need to do, check underneath that it's dried out sufficiently, like this. If you cook the meringue quite swiftly, so that it sets and it hardens on the other side, so at quite a high temperature, like 140, it will go sort of coffee coloured, and it will remain gooey in the centre. If you cook it for a long time at a lower temperature, it goes drier. But by the time you put lots of cream and fruit and things on here anyway, it's going to soften up. So I'm going to let this cool for a little while now. I'm just going to slide off this paper. This is reusable non-stick paper, by the way. If you haven't got some, get some. Fantastic stuff. Once the meringue is cool, it's time to make up the pavlova. So slide it off, pop it on a dish. Now, just in case, folks, bring your dish up to the side of your table and slide it on like that. So here's the orange cream. Put a few dollops around and between each dollop of meringue. Then I'm going to get all of the rest of the cream and pop it in the center. This is a great fairy tale concoction, this pudding. I can't tell you, I love it, I love it. I make it every Christmas. I make a version like this, and I make a version with chestnuts and chocolate as well. And my kids all get involved. I make them in summer with raspberries and strawberries and blackberries. I make them whenever I can, really. Okay, so then the cream goes on, and now is the fun with the fruit. So what I sometimes do as well, it's a very nice thing to do with this, I'll definitely serve ice cream or sorbet of some sort on the side. You could have lemon sorbet, you could have lime sorbet, passion fruit sorbet is very nice, or you can have vanilla ice cream on this, is very nice too, and you can pop the blobs on like that, lovely. So I'll grab all the fruit, and you don't necessarily need to put it all on, folks, so you don't have to get too carried away. Now, there's a lot of talk about whether the pavlova is an Australian invention or a Kiwi invention, right? I've come to the conclusion after much research that it definitely comes from New Zealand after Anna Pavlova's visit in 1926, but it was named pavlova by an Australian in Perth. Okay, so it's kind of a bit half and half. We invented it and they took the credit for it. And the idea is now to build it up, to go a little bit crazy, and then you would serve the rest of the fruit on the side, because of course you have to cut this as well. When you're adding the pomegranate, just make sure you're kind of definite about where you put it, because you don't really want to stain everything else. Okay, now the passion fruit. And then if you want to, you can start another layer. Okay, a bit more of that, a bit more of that. I'm going to go and grab my zester and put some lime zest over the top, and this is a lovely little fresh touch at the end. Squeeze a bit of the juice as well. A couple of leaves of mint. Now this is particularly important at Christmas. To have the mint and the pomegranate at Christmas, or you can use mint and dried cranberries is good too, because it makes it into a sort of a Christmas scene. So if it's hot, I like to leave it like that. And if you're doing this at Christmas time, which I often do, why not have a little snow? So there you have it, the good old Kiwi pavlova. Congratulations, Divertimenti, and here's to another 50 years.